This is WCNY's The Capitol Press Room, and we're going to share an excerpt of a conversation we recorded at the New York State Democratic Convention in Syracuse immediately following the festivities with New York State Democratic Party Chair Jay Jacobs. So, Jay, the convention is clearly a procedural event for the purpose of getting people on the ballot, but it's also a bit of a pep rally. And I'm curious, moving forward, how do you go about combining those two elements, both the substantive infrastructure things as well as keeping people excited about the party? What do those next steps look like?
Well, remember something. We're coming out of this convention with a fair amount of unity and I think enthusiasm to start with. I think what we have to do is we just have to message to folks, let them understand what we stand for, what's important, and what we have to keep focused on. I think that we have got a governor who's energized. I think the programs that she's been promoting are popular in the state of New York, and I think they're going to resonate with people. And I think we happen to be going against a uniquely unqualified candidate in the sense that he's on the wrong side of so many issues that people in the state of New York believe in. So I think we're going to have a pretty good time of it.
Well, you mentioned this idea of what Democrats stand for, and there has been a critique of the Democratic Party in some parts of the state, including in New York, that it has largely been about the anti-Trump party. So when you think about what the Democrats in New York represent beyond just that so-called resistance, what are the issues that you think Democrats up and down the ballot will and should be talking about in New York?
I think it's about including every family in New York in the American dream. Mm-hmm. I think it's about making sure that people understand that we're fighting to make their lives more affordable. We're fighting to make sure that their children get good education. We think that's important. We're fighting for people who've come to this country and want to make a new life for themselves, just like so many before us have all come to this country. My ancestors have come to this country the same way. So we have certain beliefs. We're also fighting, to make sure that the United States Constitution is preeminent and still is respected both in Washington and, of course, in our state of New York. So, I think there are a lot of things that people here have to see the difference between our party and the other party. We want to make sure that everybody's got the access to affordable, quality health care. We think that's really very important. And we're going to do it in a way that it goes along with ensuring the economic vitality of the state of New York. So, I think this is a party that has to step out a little bit more. I agree with you that maybe it shouldn't all be about just we don't like Trump. I think but it's also important to point out how the policies, even the words of Donald Trump, are so denigrating everything that we have come to know and believe in that America is about. And is that the country we really want to be? Today I read that he put up an awful racist piece on his Truth Social and kept it up there for 12 hours.
Sure, it was portraying the former president and his wife as gorillas.
Absolutely awful. I mean, is that our America really? Is that what we're looking for? Well, we're going to make sure that people understand we're going to fight against that.
So I was struck by something that the Attorney General said during her remarks, which was this idea that even if we're making progress on public safety, if people don't feel safe, then we need to, as a party, the Democrats, to address their concerns. Mm-hmm. And in the past, especially in 2022, there was maybe a reluctance to really engage on that safety, to really talk about what people were feeling. What does that look like in 2026? What is the conversation around public safety that Democrats can engage in that you think will connect with voters and not necessarily put them on the defensive? Because historically, Republicans are seen as the law and order party.
Well, I think we have to do more than have a conversation.
Okay.
I think we have to have action, and I think the governor has. Look at the subways. Look at the money she's put into putting people, law enforcement, onto the subways, and she has done that. And the subways are now a lot safer. We're securing the turnstiles, so less people are jumping in and getting in, and then we have homeless and others on the trains. So we're making the city safer, from the subways to the streets. People should feel safe, whether you're in the suburbs, you're upstate New York, or certainly in any one of our cities. You should feel safe coming and going to work in your places of worship, certainly in your homes and in your communities. And we're doing that. That's something that I think people will see. So I don't know that safety is going to be the issue that it was back in 2022 when the whole country suffered from a crime wave that was post-COVID. Let's face it, That's what it was about. The Republicans were really very good in 2022. They were great at making it about what they referred to as cashless bail. And to be honest, it really wasn't about cashless bail. That's not what brought the crime to the city. There may have been examples of times where the bail system didn't work, but overwhelmingly that was not the cause. But they won on it, and fortunately not the governorship, but a number of races.
Sure.
They won on it. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to be very clear about that, and clear about what we're doing to make our city's streets safer.
One of the areas of ambiguity, at least right now as we talk in early February about the election season, is what some of these congressional districts might actually look like. And so thinking about New York City, the district that is represented by a Republican in Staten Island, what are your expectations for that moving forward? And is that going to be something that you can plan for, or is that something where you just have to be reactive to what the courts might do and what districts might look like?
Well, you always have to rely on what the court says.
Sure.
And, there's an appeal going on. But I would say to you that the district that the Democrats are fighting for, the two districts, will be a lot fairer and a lot better in terms of, fair representation of folks.
But you're not anticipating a dramatic reshaping of all the districts?
No, it's probably the two districts that the Maliotakis district and the Goldman district that I think will be the ones that will be affected. I don't think anything else will be affected.
And sticking with the idea of those congressional races, in 2022 there was a critique about the effort of the state party or the governor to really help those down ballot candidates running for Congress, especially in purple districts. What does that look like in 2026, given the success you had in 2024? I mean, are there lessons that you're looking to utilize this go around that maybe were in play in 2024 and not in 2022?
I'm going to sound defensive, and I don't mean to, but I'm going to reject that critique from 2022. People have to remember we had a redistricting debacle, so that we were in the courts and had late primaries in late August. Every one of the districts that we lost and we believe we should have won had a primary that was in late August. The Republicans didn't have that, but in one, and theirs wasn't a hard-fought primary. We only had 8-9 weeks to run a general election, and we paid the price for it. We also had the overriding issues of cashless bail, as they call it, the bail reform program that was prevalent throughout the media discussions. So a lot was going on there. We had a coordinated campaign. It wasn't as good, I'll give you that, as what we did in 24. And the governor raised about $6 million in 2024, and we got off the ground with a very strong coordinated campaign, and we brought some of the seats back.
Sure.
Right? And we're going to do it again. We've got plans for a coordinated campaign. I would hope that Antonio Delgado, who I respect, I like him, I would hope he'd take a look at the landscape here and understand, you could want to challenge the governor. I don't think it's reasonable that you do. I think she's got a great record, done a great job. I think the polls show that. But at the end of the day, if you're going to have a primary, it's going to cost us $6 million. And that's at least. And that's money that could be better spent on these coordinated races in these congressionals to make Hakeem Jeffries the speaker. We have to keep our eyes on the ball. Nobody is more important than the mission. That's an Army saying, there's no person more important than the mission. And the mission this year, clearly, is to win the majority in the House of Representatives. And anything that takes us a step away from that, I think, is something that we have to reconsider. And I just would hope that the Lieutenant Governor would take a look at that and understand that his time may come, but maybe it's not now. And let's come together united as this body has called for, and march on to take these seats and more seats perhaps. We may have the Tenney seat in play. We may have the Stefanik seat in play.
Ambitious.
We may have the Lawless seat in play. This is going to be quite a year, given the political environment having such a huge impact on the outcome of an election. We've had that to our detriment, and I have a very good confidence that we're going to have that to our benefit this November.
Sure.
So let's take advantage of that.
Well, lastly, on a personal level, if we rewind to the summer of 2025, you were facing some calls to resign in light of the division between yourself and the governor over then Assembly member Zohran Mamdani's bid to be mayor. I had faith in you that you were going to weather that storm. But I'm curious, did you ever think that you might not be back here in this role at the 2026 convention?
At meetings of the state party, smaller meetings when we have former chairs in the audience, I always recognize the former chairs. And I tell people, you should always if you're a chair, always recognize the former chairs, because you never know when you're going to become one. And it's just in the job that I have, and it's like riding the bull, but trying to get the bull to go in a certain direction at the same time. It's not easy. So I'm always ready, for the possibility that, look, if the folks that are in leadership in the party here, and the governor certainly want somebody else.
That governor is probably the most important folk.
Yes, absolutely. But look, I look to Carl Hastie and I look to Andrea Stewart-Cousins and our senators and members of Congress too. I want to make sure that I'm navigating the job that I have, not to their detriment, as I've said, but to their benefit. So, I'm always prepared for that. In what you were talking about this past summer, look, this was a matter of principle that I had to go on, and I did, and I'll never take my job over principle.
Want to stay on past November?
We'll have to see about that. We'll have to see what everybody feels, and I'll talk to folks, and we'll see. Look, I enjoy it. It's not an easy job. I enjoy it. I love the people in the state committee and the county chairs. I mean, I've had a lot of good friends that I made, and I suspect they'll stay friends after I'm out of office as well, if that should come to that. But in the meantime, I'm just dedicated to doing the job, electing Democrats, and let's see what happens.
Thanks so much, Jay. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Support for the Capitol Press Room is provided by New York State United Teachers, a statewide union of nearly 700,000 professionals in education and healthcare.